Brooklyn Independent Television.
This week on In the Zone, we're at the Sky Dome. Joining me is the head coach of the Mo Better Jaguars, Chris Legree, Darren Dixon, also high school football consultant to many high school football players across the city. All of that and more this week on In the Zone. We are here at the Sky Dome in Bed-Stuy again, and the place is constantly developing, so it will be ready sometime in July. But joining me is football advisor of several high school players across Brooklyn and New York City, Darren Dixon, maybe even high school coach, right? Canarsie. Okay, and Mr. Chris Legree, the man behind the Mo Better Jaguars since the Million Man March. That's when they all got started, right? Yes. Back in 95, 96, around that time. Thank God for the Million Man March. All right, gentlemen, before we get our conversation started, we really want to talk to you also about a sudden loss, a tragic loss, especially for Brownsville, Greg Jocko Jackson. And what did that mean to you? Also, what does it mean also to the community and Brownsville Rec Center right now? And how will they go about getting their legs back and up and running again?
Well, on a personal level, that was my mentor, my brother, and somebody very important in my life that I talk to every day. He inspires me to do what I do, and he still inspires me. The community at large is a loss. But I think the feeling that we all have now is that we must maintain the legacy and enhance the legacy. And I emphasize to people, it can't be done just through talking. It has to be done through action. He's an action person. He made things happen. I think if we take that lead, we'll be fine.
Darren? Well, speaking about remembering, he was a person that when I was first started out basketball, coaching, and I wanted some advice, he was someone I could go to, and he gave me a tremendous amount of advice. But the most important thing he wanted me to keep in mind is that don't worry about the score, don't worry about winning, just take care of the kids. Once you take care of them, everything else will take care of itself. And then when my son actually was getting ready to sign his letter of intent, I thought maybe he might have forgot who I was, so I went over to the center, and then I walked through the door. He was just like happy to see me, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he just said, yes, no problem, bring him in and we'll do it. So he was a person that you could get whatever you want out, from him. He's not going. I never really heard him say no. He tried to figure out a way to get it done. Yeah. And that's what I remember about him, and I'll really miss him.
And this is a man who played with the Knicks, played with the Phoenix Suns, went to Guilford College in North Carolina, played with World Be Free. Had a tremendous.
It's interesting you mentioned that, and if you ever around him, that wasn't the most important thing he would talk about. What made this guy relevant is basically what Darren just said. It's how he dealt with children and families. That's what made him special. And
that rec center there was a focal point, is a meeting place for the neighborhood, basically.
Right.
It's unique.
Not just the youngsters. You could go inside the weight room and you'll see people that might be what you might want to call senior citizens, and they're in there working out. So it gave them a place also to go. So it was the whole community, just the whole community, not just the youngsters.
I want to give you one quick story. When 911 in the aftermath of 911, one of the things that he was very hell-bent on was having a memorial service at the center. And he went through a lot of preparation. We had a couple of firefighters from the community that was involved. And he said to me, Chris, I want to show the city of New York that we, the people in Brownsville, are compassionate people also. I never forget him saying that. That sticks with me.
I interviewed him, and during the interview, he also spoke to me. We were talking. He said, what, I traveled all over the world, and whatever I saw that was good in a particular neighborhood, a particular city, I want to bring about back to Brownsville.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And he
said, you got him right.
He said, I want to bring that back to Brownsville. And he was the mayor of Brownsville, the official.
Yeah, the unofficial mayor. Maybe one day they might, change the name of BRC.
I thought it was very classy that Mayor Bloomberg made a statement when he, upon learning his death, and also he attended the wake, and we had a discussion about Jock. I get the feeling that he really understood what this man meant to his community and to his people.
And with Old Timers Day coming up, what, next month, right? In July.
Yeah,
that's going to be major.
July.
That's going to be really a major weekend for the Brownsville area.
I'm on the committee. I've been for years, and we made a determination that we want to make sure it's a celebration. It's not going to be a sad occasion. It's going to be a celebration of his life and his commitment to the community.
And this is a person that took over the center back in 1997. And from what I gather, the center was basically in turmoil during that time.
Well, that's what good leadership can do. It can have a positive impact.
And he also ran for politics. He made an attempt to run for office, but he said after one time, he said he really didn't want any part of that.
Just think about all the people that that he had follow him through the same, they want the same dream. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to get someone to follow what you think might be best for something. It's hard. Some people are always trying to say, well, it's kind of hard to do it this way, or it's kind of hard to do it that way. But he just had people that just grabbed his coattail and say, hey, let's go, let's make this happen.
So the road has been paved, so all you have to do now is just continue. Well, in the community, alone.
We will.
You will. All right. Come back. We're going to have more of our conversation about high school football and high school sports and the sports scene generally across the city right after this.
Wherever the bat cracks against the ball, gridiron greats collide. Wherever big-time punches fly,
Memories are made. What's your quick shot?
Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, the last black heavyweight champion that we've had is from Brooklyn, Shannon Briggs.
We're back here at the Sty Dome in Bed-Stuy, or Bushwick, as Darren said, right? You texted me yesterday, you said, Mike, said Bushwick? I said,
actually, was it, because you were saying Kosciuszko, and I was trying to think, is that over Bushwick, or is we right here in the heart of Bed-Stuy? It's Bed-Stuy.
Bed-Stuy, all right, cool. I got the coach with me, also maybe future coach at Canarsie High School, and I got Chris Legree, the man who has been ducking me for about a year. I wasn't able to get Chris in the chair for quite some time, but now we got him. We're going to go ahead and let the games begin. Mike Camerdizi fired, let go recently by the athletic director at Canarsie High School. What does this mean for their program?
Well, let me tell you something.
And who's in line to get the job?
Listen, this is
you?
a very hot topic right now.
Are you? Are
No,
you?
I'm not.
Okay,
No,
all
I'm
right,
not.
good. Okay, we got
No, I'm
that.
not.
Okay.
But this is still a hot topic, even though it has nothing to do with me. Let me start out by saying, when you get a new boss, so to speak, certain things has to change. They want to do things their way. So
it's like Frank Sinatra. You want to do things
right,
your way, my way.
You want to do it his way.
Right.
And Camerdizi has been there for almost 27 seasons, maybe more. Great job, great coach, loves the kids. And I'm just wondering if these guys are just bumping heads. I don't know if they're got a chance to sit down and talk and try to figure out how could we do this thing together. But I heard an interesting comment by someone. They said, now I understand how Barack Obama feels by not having title respected.
Okay, now you can say that, but what about Tommy Allen? He was a basketball coach, he resigned. Are you saying there's a degree of color correction or racism involved?
Nah, I don't think so, not at all. Tommy Allen felt that he had options.
So was he bumping heads with this coach, with this athletic director,
Absolutely.
Dale
Absolutely.
Woodson, who's the athletic director?
Mr. Woodson,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
And like I said, I don't know what their issues was either, but I guess he felt like, look, hey, I don't have to really take this. And
was this an attempt to dismantle sports at Canarsie High School, or to start something new? And this guy, and in sports, sports is an ego-driven game, so everyone has their egos.
No, I don't think it's an attempt to dismantle football. I just think that it's a situation where the old boys club thing just didn't work anymore, and the guy might want to go another direction.
Well, first I want to say Mike Camerdizi, the guy I know for 30 years. I played against Mike, and he did a great job in his 27 years.
27.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think also what happens in these situations, kind of like what Darren said, it's human nature involved. Okay, you do get a new boss, you got to sit down. I don't know what kind of relationship they had. Obviously, it didn't work well, but it has to be a mutual respect.
And here's the other thing, though. You have 4 different principals now in these schools. These schools are charter schools now. And some people, unfortunately, will get chartered off. Right? And therefore, you have to appease 4 different egos. Because principals have egos, too, just like everyone else. They want to do a job particularly their way. So as a coach, you have to appease 4 different principals, where back in the day, you only had 1 principal. Then also, from what I gather, they cut down his practice time. They did all types of things where it really became a very hard situation for him. I'm just, from what I heard about on his side, I don't know the principal's side, I don't know the Darren side. So, no respect, we didn't reach out to Darren, but maybe at another time we will. Darren Woodson. We wouldn't reach out to the athletic director. Dale Woodson, excuse me. Dale Woodson. We didn't reach out to the athletic director, Dale Woodson, but perhaps at another time we will about this situation. But do you understand the difficult situation that can be, because you've been used to dealing with one principal for a certain amount of time? And also now there's another coach too at another school, and he says he has to be a politician. So at the beginning of the year, he gives each of the schools, he gives each of the principals, which are 4, he gives them jackets, hats, and all that stuff. So this is when they come to the football teams, when they come to the games or the basketball games, everyone's, on the same team, so they feel a part of it. So maybe Mike wasn't that politically astute as this other coach.
Or maybe he didn't feel necessary to be. But the bottom line is this: I think we've proven the point that to run a good program, you need the support of your boss, your athletic director.
Right.
It just makes sense to get on the same page. If not, you're going to have a stormy relationship. You're going to have inconsistencies that you don't really want. And the real shame of it is that Canarsie, with its storied history, and all the great athletes have been there, that should mean something in all this. And I hope they can work it out.
But maybe it doesn't. Maybe he wants to start a new path. That was yesterday. I'll see that on the History Channel. I'll look to ESPN Classic Sports to look at some of that stuff.
The question is, when you ask them, when you say you need that, when they have to come together, are you saying is Cam not coming together with the principals, or is the athletic director taking orders from the principals? You understand? That's what you got. That's one of the things you got to look at. And maybe he's got 4 people that he had to answer to now. When in the past, the other athletic directors had 1.
Right. And is that a hard situation for football coaches now, especially since the formulation of these charter schools?
Really hard, because now the practice times changed. One school gets out at 3:30, one school gets out 4:35, the other school gets out at 4:10. So it's hard for them to have the practice, with the guys all together, because some kids are coming in at different times. And that's just not at Canarsie.
Right.
That's all over.
But at Susan Wagner, you have another situation where, because Camadisi wasn't teaching anymore, so he's just come and coach.
Right. Retired.
Right, he retired. We got to take a break, and we're going to continue to talk about these obstacles.
Wherever the bat cracks against the ball, gridiron greats collide. Wherever big-time punches fly,
memories are made. What's your quick shot?
In 1955, when the Dodgers finally beat the Yankees and won the World Series, this was the cover of the New York Daily News. Who's the bum? Now, who did I get to autograph this? Well, I got the first man to win a World Series game as a black pitcher, Joe Black.
When you look at football, there's an alarming situation out there, especially amongst the media, about these concussions. You have football players that are committing suicide. You have football players that are not doing well mentally and physically. And there's a driving force out there that wants to drop this game. And there was debates, matter of fact, there was a recent debate at NYU about dropping college football. Is that a reality? And is that a possibility?
No. No, it's not a reality. Are there people out there talking about it? Yes. Is the NFL loaded with lawsuits because of it? Yes. Are NFL players in retirement not doing well? Some of them? Yes. Is there a residual effect physically playing football? Yes. Youth football one of the biggest things you have to do is you have to be able to teach it in a safe way. And what I mean by that is the fundamentals of the game. Does that mean that injury won't happen? No. Kids can get hurt playing football. Adults can get.
But here's a scenario, Chris. This is a scenario that could happen 10, 15 years from now. $20 million lawsuit here in one conference, $10 million lawsuit here at the Youth Football League, at the High School League, and before you know it, players are dropping off, 10, 15 years of that. And then the NFL, beer companies are pulling out, everyone's running for the hills. And before you know it, the NFL is a secondary league. 10, 15 years of lawsuits. Can they sustain that at 10 to $20 million a pop?
I think they will, because I don't think that would happen. Let me say something to you.
Okay.
So you're a firefighter, right? And you're going to all these buildings constantly, year after year. You're working on the job 25 years, and the smoke eventually gets you. Can you sue the fire department? I think these football players got to be careful, not to say that. Let me say this. I look at this two ways. Are the players, we're talking NFL now, are the players hiding their injury? Do they get hit and maybe are suffering a concussion, but then just say, well, look, I'm okay?
But in the NFL, man, you can't sit out. Right?
Right. So that which leads to my second part. Is it the doctors that's saying the person's okay? So when you're talking about a lawsuit, you got to kind of look at both sides of that, because if the player is constantly saying, look, I'm okay, but really he had a concussion 2 days ago, but he's not letting the doctors know, or is the doctor saying, look, he's got a concussion, but you know what, we need you tomorrow. That's when there could be a lawsuit. But other than that, you just can't, you signed up for this. You've been doing this since. So
should the players sign some sort of medical waiver?
They'll never do that under those circumstances. I mean, listen, in every occupation there's liability issues. I worked for Con Edison for a long time. Some guys come up with asbestos who worked in power plants. It's kind of like what you're saying, worked in power plants, was breathing the stuff in, and there's a latency period with asbestos that's like 30 years. That's an occupational hazard of that particular occupation. When you're running into people full speed, these things will happen. So
do you change how you play the game, how you tackle the head collisions? And the helmets, you only can change the helmets, but so much. Now, from what I gather, there is a helmet being developed that will measure the concussion rate. So let's say like if your concussion goes from 1 to 10, and 10 is the rate that you can't play maybe for 2 weeks, they're trying to get that sort of helmet out there for the NFL, for the players. Do you agree with that sort of as far as precaution? Would that, because if he puts a helmet on, he's still at a 10, you know what, you can't go back in there maybe till you're down to a 5, maybe till your rate is down to a 4 or that sort of.
It goes back to what I just said. It all depends on who's calling this shot. Whether you put the helmet on after.
Do you have some sort of uniform law, rule, regulation for the whole league?
He's actually doing that now. I think he's trying to take the safety precaution type thing right now. I think that's what he's doing. He's doing everything possible to make the game as safe as possible.
Now we're getting down to the youngsters at the high school level, at the youth level where you coach. How are you changing the way you teach the game now because of this? Or have you always taught from a safe? We
always emphasize that. In fact, what I do every year, and Darren's down, he comes down, we try to educate the kids about their bodies. We talk about the head. We talk about the neck. I want them to know there's vertebrae that run down their spinal cords. I think it's important to educate them. It gives them more reason to realize how important it is to keep your head up.
Yeah, you can educate me, but hey, I'm looking at the cats on the NFL, man. They're taking people out with their heads.
There's also cats on the NFL that go out on stretches. Okay, so it's very important how you teach it. And it's very important that you correct it when it's not right.
But the headshot gets you the highlight reel. The headshot will get you on ESPN.
Well, with me, the headshot will get you off the field. Okay, we've been blessed. We haven't had this kind of problem a lot. But again, it's about teaching how you teach it.
Let me say this real quick. The NFL is trying to take the safety route. But at the same time, back to what you said, that's what they show. They show the headshots. That's what makes money. So it's kind of like a conflict.
So they're basically being hypocritical in
Right,
that, right? All right, when we come back, we got to continue our conversation right after this, folks. We'll be back in a minute.
Wherever the bat cracks against the ball, gridiron greats collide. Wherever big-time punches fly.
Memories are made. What's your quick shot?
And I had these gloves. Who's coming out? Floyd Patterson and Howard Cosell. So I said, Mr. Cosell, Mr. Patterson. At that time, Patterson was the commissioner, New York State boxing commissioner. And he signed the glove. And I said, got a piece of paper? He said, he started saying, he said, wait a minute. I said, give me your address, he said. Give me your address. I'll mail you a picture. 4 or 5 days later, I have the picture in my files. To my good friend Melvin Stanley, your friend Floyd Patterson.
In case you're just joining us, we are going to finish up on the last part of our conversation. Joining me is the coach, Darren Dixon, and the coach and head person in charge of the Bobetta Jaguars, Chris Legree. All right, you know what? High school football is the next venture in capitalism when it comes to making money. And there's nothing wrong with making money. We have MSG Varsity right now, and they are exposing our kids. And they are, some would say they are exploiting our kids. Of course, it's all right to get exposed, but at the same time, you don't want to be exploited because this could become an NCAA situation eventually if the PSAL continues to allow this to happen, where the kids are not even maybe going to get a scholarship or some money towards their scholarship or something like that. Because unfortunately, and I'm not saying this to get the PSAL, but wherever there's money, a lot of money, there is some corruption. All right, gentlemen.
Well, you know, just like anything else, you just got to be. Well, I think this country was built on corruption, so, you know, that's a story another time. But I think you got to be extremely careful, MSG and any other network when you're dealing with the youngsters and talking about their possibilities and, you know, and their potentials. I think that's something that you got to be very, very careful dealing with. Like you said, the NCAA can get involved. A lot of different things can happen. You're dealing with the clearinghouse and all those type of things. So, you know, I think that's a touchy subject, and it's just something that they got to be very.
MSG Varsity basically needs the PSAL, I think, in order to really thrive. They can survive without the PSAL, but I think to thrive as a network, the PSAL has to be involved.
Well, it's that thing called marketing. It's simple. I mean, it's Micheal is a business, and people want to telecast games. You know, look at LeBron James. Okay, we've been watching him since he played high school on his network called ESPN, and now you watch ESPN. You got Game of the Weeks. Yeah, it's just the business part of I don't like the word amateur sports. It's just evolving, and it's just almost out of control, to be honest with you. And the thing I don't like about it the most, it distorts, really, to me, what kids should be doing. I think they should be enjoying playing. I don't like the process anymore. You know, the internet has changed how. I
mean, even at your level, how the players at your level, at the youth level, compared to when you first got started, mentally? Well, I mean, because of the media, because of the
outside influences that always are trying to touch the next one. What we call the next one is that next Wayne Morgan or that next Jamal Schulters. Everybody's looking for the next one.
Called street agents that come around, folks that you don't want to use that.
You have people who are always interested in the next one. That's how they make their living, or somebody connected them make their living. It's a very competitive situation.
So has Pandora's box been open, and this is basically because, are we going to have the Conception Network next? You know, hey, is Mary and Bob conceiving tonight? And what is the possibility of them conceiving their own next great superstar? And are we going to follow that kid with Pampers and, you know, all the other food sources that are?
Hollywood has the paparazzi. You know, we have the other guys.
It's just like the dumb thing I wanted to talk to you about. I guess I can do this now. Is the recruitment stuff, you know, like recruiting. get scared with kids now because they stop being kids. They stop enjoying their senior year. They consume with what school? I don't want to name who. There's a couple of hot prospects in the city right now. I mean, the kid's 16 years old, going to be 17, got great potential. Do he really know the difference between Alabama and Notre Dame? Really? So what's going to happen? You got people all around him saying all kinds of things. And they really changing the fundamental idea of what's really supposed to happen.
Real quick, also, combines. Are combines excessive? All of these combines, I'm looking around, this one's having a combine. It's like old McDonald had a farm. This one has a combine over here, this one has a combine over there, this one has a combine over there, that one, that one, that one. You know, you remember the song, Old McDonald Had a Farm, E-I-E-I-O. All right, cool. What do you think of these combines? Are these combines necessary? And I'm not talking about the ones that the colleges are providing for the students. I'm talking about anyone out here.
Well, it depends on the athlete. I think it's necessary for some, and I totally agree that it's not necessary for others. Like,
are they taking advantage of $300 here? No, I'm talking about the high school level. High schools here. At the high school level, there's more combines out here. Every time I look up, there's a different combine.
It's money. It's business. Everybody's a specialist now. You got speed camps, walk camps, throw camps, sit camps. It's so specialized, and it's just the way the market goes. The other thing about the internet, it has changed how business is done. The business moves so fast now. If I post his times at a 4.29, the guy in Seattle is going to jump out of his chair. The guy in Oregon is going to step up and find out who's this kid in Brooklyn.
Let me tell you why I think it's excessive. Because in the NFL, what is it, 1,800 players? Come on, it's just way too much. It's business, and I won't knock that part of it, but it's too much.
I'm talking about the high school level,
I'm talking
especially.
about the high school level. That's the level I'm talking about. Like you said, you got speed camps, this camp, you got it's too much. You're making more money than at the end of the road.
Times out of 10, most of these kids may not go to that D1 school.
That was my point.
Right.
Nobody's telling them.
Right. Hey, it's the new hustle. All right, Lincoln High School. We're going to talk about them real quick. I know we're out of time, but go ahead.
Well, we got to give Lincoln High School. They big ups. They won the championship this year, and I talked to Sean O'Connor, and I asked him about the loss last year and the quarterback play. Remember we had that conversation? And he agreed. He thought that was something that made the difference in the win and the loss.
Chris, who do you got coming out? How's your team look for this year? And where are you playing? You going to be part of Jersey? You going to be part of New York?
We're in New Jersey. And I'm not going to tell you how good I think we're going to be, because I never do that, but we have a good veteran group coming back, and we're excited about our season.
Well, we are out of time. I'd like to thank Dixon, also Chris Legree. I'm Micheal Bellamy. Take care, folks. Have a safe week. Bye-bye.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at breakartsmedia.org/BIT.